Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Hurdle the Line. This is episode 102. Joining me for episode 102 to preview a massive week 8 of NFL action, I have with me, as always, the Ram, Mr. Sam. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Very good. How are we doing today?
Very, very good, thank you. And also joining me to talk about, again, a packed week 8 of action is, I can't rhyme with this one, Carl. How are you, sir?
Is that was your introduction, was it?
I was
I'm good. I'm very good. As always, as always. We're the top of the AFC, so can't complain. Can't complain.
Well, before we get really, really into the episode, speaking of your team there, Carl, I'm going to quickly mention Monday Night Football before someone else gets to talk about their team. Um, there were two games on Monday night, if I can get the stuff back up. But the most important one being the Detroit Lions and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Potential, well, it could be a huge game in the race for the NFC. Lions walk away 24 to 9 winners and a dominant display versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Did either of you two get much of this game in? I may have watched a couple of minutes here and there of this game, but I would be very much interested to hear any thoughts from around
I
the
just
room.
caught, I just caught some of the highlights. I thought it was, yeah, Baker's struggling with the lack of options, I think, is mainly the big thing that I got from it. He had a Booker, but it's a lot easier to defend one wide receiver than it is three with what they usually would have. So I think it's just, you know, it's just they're in this difficult period where they have the team to be able to do it apart from the wide receivers who just physically they don't have the ones that they need at the moment and the ones that can make the massive difference. Obviously, Tez Johnson came in and played well. Sterling Shepard had an okay game, and K Dotton, standard tight end sort of outlet. But yeah, I just think it was just one of those games where I think it was just one step too far for the Bucks to be able to get anything from it really.
Yeah. Carl, did you get anything of this in?
Same with Sam, really. Caught a glimpse of the highlights. What I was actually very, very surprised about was the Detroit Lions don't have their starting secondary out right now. They don't have their best safety, haven't got their best corner, and they held this hotshot Buccaneers team who've been putting 30 points on teams for absolute fun, held them to 9 points. That's bloody good going for Detroit, it really is. As far as the Bucks is concerned, we were going to find out at some point how far this team is going to go. When they finally start playing up against proper elite opposition. This was their first test on Monday night, and unfortunately, they failed the test. Baker couldn't do anything. The running game couldn't do anything. I've always looked at the Buccaneers as a team that they will only go so far that Baker Mayfield will take them. The only way I could see the Buccaneers maybe even making the Super Bowl, they've got to get home field advantage. I think if they play on the road, I think they're done. I don't think they can get to the NFC Champion. They might get to the NFC Championship, but it's a road, but on foot, but as a road warrior, I don't think they're built for it. I just generally don't think they're built for it. So yeah, for me, great win for the Lions and the Bucks. I mean, luckily they play in a division which is not exactly particularly great right now. So
Yeah. A couple of things I do want to mention, as you mentioned there, Carl. Most of the secondary was out. Amik Robertson is about the only kind of starter that you would have that played on Monday. Not just having our number one safety out, but our two starting safeties, both Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, both for different reasons. Kirby Joseph was out because he was injured. Brian Branch was out because
He's an idiot.
violated Juju Smith-Schuster.
Because he's an idiot.
So what I was really impressed with just the performances of the guys who did step up. Whiteside came up with a couple of huge pass breakups. Halle was all over the place. Halle was all over the place. Morlett was really good. Came up with an interception. Um, yeah, there was just a good few plays. Aiden Hutchinson was a wrecking ball on the D line. Aleem McNeil was back. Really glad to see him. He looked like Aleem McNeil at his best as well. Just a solid performance, though I will say, listen, I was the first to complain after the Lions and Chiefs game that penalties came, like that the officiating was terrible, benefited the Chiefs and all that sort of stuff. I was the first to complain. I will not shy away from the fact that some calls went our way that really shouldn't have, and we definitely benefited from some horrible officiating. Don't think it was as egregious as the week before, per se, but what I will say is we absolutely did. There are a lot of Lions fans who will tell you to shut up if you bring it up. If you bring up the week before, they'll tell you all about it. You bring up last week, they'll tell you to shut up, or they'll tell you that it was only one way and only the Bucks got stuff. I disagree. Some shit calls went against us. Some terrible calls went for us. This was a bad game of officiating throughout. But we benefited from that on a few occasions. That is about as much as I think needs to be said on it. Lions go to 5-2. We've got a bye week now, and Bucks go to 5-2. The number one, well, I'll mention the number one thing coming out of it in a second. But then following up, the Seattle Seahawks beat the Houston Texans 27-19. Now, I didn't even really get any highlights in of this game. I watched a little bit live, wasn't really that bothered about it. But by the looks of things, Sam Darnold is loving life right now in Seattle, and rightly so.
Yeah, I think the problem is with the Seahawks is they've got to start getting a level of consistency going in their games. No, it's okay saying they're undefeated on the road and so on, but they barely can win any games at home. This was finally a game which they had to win on the road. How I wanted to go straight into a bye, so they would have liked to have got into a little bit of a rhythm
Yeah.
after that. Seattle are just a bit of a frisky team right now. Defensively, they're good. Their running game is good. So, and I think Sam Darnold, I think he is a good quarterback. I think when you put him in a position where, like he got put in a position with the Vikings, he was brilliant for the Vikings last season.
Until he met the
And
Rams.
hmm?
Until he met the Rams.
Well, he lost the last game, didn't he? And that's how they got, and that's how they missed out on not home field advantage, but on winning the division. Then there was a wild card and they got bounced.
What happened? What
Um,
happened with that one? I can't quite remember. Didn't they get bounced by, embarrassed by one of the division? Don't matter. Don't matter. It's got no relevance.
yeah. So Seattle for me, they're going to be in contention right now. That NFC West though is getting a hell cramped. It's getting hell cramped right now. Um, as far as what Houston is, oh, they reverted back to old form. I did say, what have we been saying? Was that win over the Ravens good for them, or was it just the Ravens were shit for Baltimore? Once again, it's proving their point. If you play the Ravens, if you play the Ravens, that doesn't mean you're a good team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that O line is really causing them massive issues, I find. When you look at their running game, Marks had 10 attempts for 15 yards. Chubb had 5 attempts for 16 yards, and Stroud had 2 attempts for 25. And obviously, I didn't watch this match, but I can guarantee those two that were for 25 yards were because there was nothing else on. It wasn't a design play; it was a scramble to get out of that pocket and round the side. So,
Yeah.
they've got a lot of issues on offense that just I don't think is necessarily Stroud's fault, but I just think that they need to fix it quick because you look at, if they don't, they run the risk of being a one season wonder team in that they had that pretty good season when Stroud was first there, and then nothing has happened since. And people will start to then question whether Stroud is a good enough quarterback to lead a team. And if people aren't already questioning it, they will be certainly by the end of the season if they continue playing the way they are. I still rate Stroud. I still think he's a good quarterback. I just think he's, you know, he had a struggle second season, and then the O-line got torn apart and traded to all sorts of different places, and they've just not been able to sort it out. And that, for me, is the reason why they've massively regressed this year, along with a few other, injuries and such. But I think it's going to be. It wouldn't, as I said before, it wouldn't surprise me if someone like if D'Amico Ryans did get fired at the end of the season, because of the fact that he's had that such good that season with Stroud and then two really quite poor seasons after. In the NFL, you don't have time to regress unless you're in rebuild.
Yeah. Walking away though so that game sends Seattle to 5-2, Texans to 2-4, and as Carl said, there are three teams in the NFC West on 5-2. How fun that's gonna be! And then there's the Cardinals, but we don't want to talk about the Cardinals. Like they're on 2 and
Don't
5.
make me reference it. Don't make me reference it.
The little bitch brother.
Yeah, that one. That's what we're gonna say, Carl. That's what you want to say, Carl, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
So another thing happened this weekend, though. Sadly, the NFL International Series, as far as the UK goes, is over. But it isn't all sadness, as someone got to go and watch their own team play on Sunday in London. Sam, tell us all about it. How was it? How was the experience? What else did you do? I know you got to see Gary from the College Pod. And you got to watch your team just have a run riot all over the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah,
How was it?
dismantle the Jags. Yeah. I mean, in terms of as far as the game goes, I mean, it's probably, I'm now 2-0 watching the Rams play in London. So I watched them dismantle the Bengals and I've watched them dismantle the Jaguars. So I'm happy no matter what. In terms of sort of, I suppose, in around, I didn't really get much chance to look around. There was a lot going. Probably the one thing I will say about the Wembley game this year compared to some of the other years that I've been, there was a lot more on around the ground, which was nice to see.
Yeah.
When they first sort of introduced it, there was kind of like a lot. There was all the tailgate stuff, and then they completely scaled it back. They stopped people drinking on Wembley Way and all of this. And then the year I went to watch the Rams the last time, there was nothing. Like literally, there not the Rams. I went to watch the Broncos against the Jags, and the only thing they had was like one tiny section where you could go and get a drink, and it was absolutely rammed. But this year there was a lot more on. You had different areas. There was a whole merchandise section that was around the ground. There was a section, the jungle section, which they had, and there was a bigger section for drinking as well. So there was a lot more sort of to do in and around the stadium, which was good to see. Obviously, I got to see Gary as well, so I got a picture with him, and got to chat for a little bit before he had to go back down to his back down to where he was in the media section. But as far as the game goes, yeah, I mean, I couldn't really have asked for more. I think I've said on this pod multiple times about the fact that we're so inefficient in the red zone and we're so inefficient on fourth downs, etc. We had 100% for fourth downs and we had 100% for red zone efficiency. So it was the exact opposite of what we've sort of experienced all year. And for a team that, for years we've talked about, well, not for you, for the last few weeks, we've talked about the fact that the Jags have sort of started to look more solid on defense. They had that big win over the Chiefs, but they looked like the Jags of last year. They looked awful, and that was a mixture of the way we were playing, the pressure we were putting on Lawrence, but also just how efficient Matt Stafford was. I've never seen I've watched him for many years, a few years now at the Rams, and that's probably the most efficient I've ever seen him play in terms of just comfortability in the box, getting his plays out that he wants to, and just hitting the man that he wanted to each time. And obviously, great to see Devontae Adams step up and get 3 touchdowns. Hopefully, that's silences the Matt Stafford's a racist and doesn't throw to black players, because that was the big thing from a couple of years ago that he wouldn't throw to Allen Robinson. Obviously, all are not true anyway, but
Gotta say,
yeah, obviously
Calvin
seeing.
Johnson might be the whitest person I've ever seen,
Well,
to be
yeah,
fair.
I know exactly. We did point that out, but but yeah, to see Tager get those 3 touchdowns was great. And also to see Terrence Ferguson finally step up with a touchdown as well. Signed him in the fourth round, and he was meant to be, a big tight end for us and step up that tight end game. And he's not really featured for us, but he stepped up as well and got a touchdown. And yeah, Matt Stafford got 5 touchdowns, record for London. And yeah, all in all, just a great game. And I think, again, sort of similar to what you were saying, Fletcher, about the Lions, I think we benefited from some very bad officiating. There was a couple of calls which I thought were awful. There was that pass interference in the end zone,
Yeah.
which was just a ridiculous call. It should never. It wasn't. He
Just
wasn't making
to
a catch. But
just to add to that, Sam. Okay, the referee officiating crew that you had over there at Wembley for the Jags Rams game was the exact same crew that did the Pats Saints freaking debacle.
mm,
The exact same one. So they haven't learned their lesson about what the hell is pass interference nowadays.
yeah, that I because I mean, and the thing is, they didn't even. It was just a really bad call because he was never making the catch. He pulled out of it, like he
He
pulled his
pulled
arms
out of it,
down.
yeah.
So he was never he wasn't going to make that catch, and he obviously got taken out. But you know, I don't understand where the DB's meant to go. He's already mid tackle. Like, is he just meant to let him get the catch? So and there was a few others where I thought there were some dodgy calls, but I think I was looking back at the stats just now, and they had 13 penalties for 119 yards, which
Jeez.
is ridiculous, to be honest. We only had 5 for 45, and a lot of those were mixture of false starts and that. So to get that sort of level of penalties, yes, there probably was some naivety and some, you know, bad plays, but generally, I think it was bad refereeing or bad officiating. So, but yeah, overall enjoyed the game, and obviously it's great to watch Stan Kroenke get the 2-0 over Khan, which is great.
I'm happy for Stafford as well. His last experience of London was not a good one. And obviously when you went to watch the Rams versus the Bengals, you had Jared Goff as your quarterback
Mm.
instead. So it's your first time getting to see them under Stafford. Stafford's last time playing in Wembley was 2015, and that was against the Chiefs, where the Lions lost a very close one, 45-10 in London. Yeah, just a very, very close one, that one. He must be very upset. But he got to go in, get 5 touchdowns, never been done before in an international series. Devontae Adams gets a hat trick, an all-round good day, and settles the argument, I think, of is turning up on the Saturday really going to be the right idea for them?
It
Well,
worked. It worked.
Um,
yeah,
Because all they basically did was they touched down, what was it, 8:30 in the morning on Saturday? They got to the training facility where they were based. They just did a walkthrough and then they just chilled the rest of the day.
yeah,
They chilled, rest, good night's sleep, off we go. Game day, let's go. They literally they literally went out there for what is the equivalent of a business trip.
mhm,
Literally like a 2 day business trip. We're going there, we're doing this, right, then we're fucking off back home.
yep.
yeah,
That's exactly what we're doing.
I,
And we have a nice bye week to come. So but also the preparation that they already did. They flew out. They played Baltimore the week before, So they stayed in Baltimore. They trained at
Orioles.
The Orioles ballpark, which is Camden Yards, which is
Yeah.
absolutely stunning. But they did a lot, but they did their training out in there. Really good. Not only was the logistics correct, but they got it down to a T, and it showed on the field as well. And I think we could safely say that Trevor Lawrence is just terrible. 55 million a year he's getting paid 55 million a year, and the bloke can't get past his first read if his life depended on it.
Yeah.
Do you know how bad he got? My 4-year-old son was sitting next to me watching the game, and he just said, and after he just, I think it was like a third conversion where he missed. I can't remember who the receiver was now. I
After
can't.
Washington, probably, because
Probably what?
he
Yeah, it
was
was
aiming for
Washington.
it
I
the
think.
ball.
Yeah, you're right. It was Washington. He missed the ball to Washington miles out, and my boy just said to me, and I quote this is from him. He's only 4, but he said he is awful. My 4-year-old son says Trevor Lawrence is awful.
Yeah, I mean, there was so many times where he had Travis Hunter open, like on.
Oh
If he'd have hit
mate,
him, I saw at least two where if he'd have actually looked at him and hit him, he'd have gone and got 2 touchdowns. It was that.
you
It was
You'll
just
understand. You'll understand this, Sam, because and obviously you too as well, Fred. When we go to games, when you watch it on TV, you can only see what the video screen's seeing you. When you're actually in the stadium, you see literally everything. You see the plays, what they're lined up. The minute that ball is snapped, you can see right who's open and who's not.
mm,
How many times was Travis Hunter open? How many times was Brian Thomas open?
mm.
It's
Yeah,
criminal.
you could hear it as well in the crowd as well. There was a lot because surprisingly, I think that's probably the most Jags fans I've seen in a single stadium at one time. And
You won't get that at Everbank.
no, I know. But it was you could hear them trying to actually kind of build an atmosphere for the Jags, and it got to about into the second quarter, and there was a lot of like boos and just annoyance in the sound around the ground and that, and it was just like you said, Carl. It was just constant miss after miss, and it wasn't just a case of he was missing his reads and missing open players. Even the players which he was going for, he was missing them. It wasn't
Mhm.
like he made what was it
This
in
is why
total?
I
Yeah.
said keep saying about the Jags, and then when at some point Trevor Lawrence is going to turn back into a pumpkin again, and when he does, it's going to cost them.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't help that he had been sacked 7 times in that
Yeah, the
game. But
offensive line was just. I mean,
I mean, it all came from that opening play. The very first play I was saying to Fletch before we joined on. I think the very first play of the game. Um, if I just see if I can find it, if I remember rightly, it was a sack by Jared Verse, and
yes,
that
it
was the
was.
game, and that was the game. It was
That
basically
set the
just
tone. That
yeah,
set the tone of what was to come.
yeah. So to be fair, it was, and that was a really odd sack because basically Trevor Lawrence ran into him. He just ran into Verse. It was just like, yes, come to me. Um, but yeah, it was just one of those games where I think it highlighted the inefficiencies of Lawrence more than necessarily other games have. And I think it's hurt him more than it has anyone else. Because I mean, Travis Hunter got his very first touchdown. He got 100 over 100 yards. He had a good game. But yeah, they need to do so. It's either I mean, are the Jacks at this point? Should they be thinking about moving on from Trevor Lawrence? Are we at that
With
point
that
where
contract, I don't think so. Unless someone else is willing to take on a lot of that contract for you, which I don't know, maybe the Jets might soon. But
well, they might be playing Tyler Huntley this week? So
um look, we've got plenty of time to talk about the future of these and potentially time to talk about that exact thing very, very soon. I want to get through the last couple of bits of news. Well, the first
Mhm.
couple bit of news, and then we can get onto that. Because I think that comes under part of our talk for today. So, couple of bits of news. Brandon Graham, two-time Super Bowl winner, Philadelphia Eagles legend, has come out of retirement. It was announced on Tuesday. I
Yeah,
believe.
the contract's been announced today, though. I think
Yeah.
the full contract was announced today.
Um, he's back to support that Eagles D line that has been not quite what it should be this year after, and only a couple of weeks after Zadarius Smith retired. The NFL owners meeting for the fall has been around has taken place over the last couple of days. Sorry, with a couple of interesting pieces that have come out of it. The NFL's deal with ESPN, where NFL will get 10% stake in ESPN in return for ESPN taking on NFL Red Zone, NFL Network. The owners have approved that deal. That deal has now gone through, so expect it to take place and officially come into play as of 2026. What that means, we'll find out over the next few months. I'm guessing. Um, the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell has announced that the Pro Bowl games is moving to Super Bowl week. The game itself, the flag football game, will take place on the Tuesday of the Super Bowl week, just before this. So if you only a few days, technically, they're just moving like a couple of days back.
Yeah, so that's what, 3 days back, 2 days back.
Yeah,
It's normally on the Sunday, isn't it? Or is it normally?
yeah.
Yeah, odd decision.
There was, and then there's a couple of little bits like they've extended the deal with EA to produce Madden until 2030. The owners have approved the Amazon Prime Black Friday game
Yeah,
between the Eagles and the
Bears.
Bears. Yeah, the Bears.
That is a quite that's going to be quite a good match to be fair.
It could very well be,
And it's
especially.
Black Friday as well, which what's that? It's a 3 o'clock Eastern time kickoff. That means it's 8 p.m. our time. Perfect. Perfect time.
It's
Yeah,
Friday. It's
the
a
deal
Friday then.
the deal with the EA is to extend it to 2030, isn't it? So
Yeah,
EA will be the only uh, developer that can have an NFL game, an official NFL game.
yeah.
So play obviously the ones like 2K and all the other ones that do like NBA and stuff won't get a sniff.
No. Um, Carl, I'm very disappointed in you, but also very impressed at the same time. It's a really weird feeling to be within that sphere for the reference. Um, the only other couple of bits, Aaron Jones is being placed on injured reserve with a hamstring who has been, sorry, on injured reserve with a hamstring injury, is expected to be activated and play tonight.
Oh dear,
Uh,
Jordan Mason, Jordan. People in fantasy football, they've got Jordan Mason. Oh dear, they're going to lose a lot of points now. Oh
Le
dear.
Titans have placed L'Jarius Sneed on injured reserve.
He's getting traded. He might be on injured reserve, but he might get traded now.
Uh, why the hell is this skip?
How's it big? How big's the injury? Obviously,
Uh,
big enough that he's out for 3 weeks, but
hang
four
on,
weeks.
let me. Adam Schefter reported on it earlier. Hang on. Yeah, Schefter just put placed L'Jarius on injured reserve, meaning now he will miss a minimum of 4 games, but it doesn't. Where does it say? Although saying that, he might have done his hamstring because he got cooked by a sixth round pick. Booty! So
The
I'm not quite sure.
Commanders have confirmed that Jaden Daniels will be out for Monday Night Football.
Yep, he's being rested for returning rehab for week 9, isn't he?
The Dolphins have signed tight end Greg Dulwich to the active roster off the practice squad and have placed tight end Darren Wallen on the injured reserve list with an apparent shite music career. Um, oh no, pec strain it was.
He was on fire as well.
Yeah.
His music wasn't.
Uh,
And you're talking to somebody. It's my kind of that general genre tends to be one I listen to quite. That is horrible. Just horrible. I've heard I've not much worse than that.
School kids produce
Much
them.
worse. Have
I've
you not listened
not
to?
much worse. Not much.
Have you not listened to Le'Veon Bell's album, Antonio Brown's
I
album?
don't. Listen,
I dare you to within about 3 tracks, you'll be putting whatever hair you've got left out.
I I'm scared to say if anyone's Antonio Brown anything,
If that's a
I'm not doing
punishment,
it.
I don't know if you do punishments in obviously the Hurdle Live Fantasy League, but if whoever finishes rock bottom of that league, pardon the rock pun there, they should have to sit in a room and listen to the Antonio Brown EP album. And you have to listen to it all the way through, non-stop. That is your pain. That is your punishment for
Well,
losing.
if we're gonna rule that for the Dynasty League, then
You're out.
won't be me. 7-0, 7-0, baby.
Um, Finally, and I think this is the most important piece of news, and I'm sad. This is the end of an era. Um, Mike Evans went out on Monday with a broken clavicle. He's expected to miss roughly 8 games after he had surgery this week. 8 weeks he'll be out. And with his 140 yards on the season so far, expected to miss about 8 weeks. We're in week 8.
So week 16 at
He
the
either
so probably
needs
week
to put
17
up
at the earliest.
he needs to put up 450 yards a game, or the 11-year 1,000 yard season streak is dead.
Yeah, I think we can safely say it's dead because I don't think he'll play until the playoffs at the earliest.
I think they'll rest him up now for the postseason.
Yeah.
I generally do feel like now. It's a shame. It is a real shame. He's a fantastic receiver. Luckily they've got Igbuka who's playing really well right now. Luckily they got Chris Godwin back. Tez Johnson and Sterling Shepard, they're taking some of the load as well. So it's a loss to them, but it's not the end. But it's not the end of the world because they will get him back for the postseason. It's down to the Bucks now to see if they can get home field advantage.
I'm just gutted that the streak's over.
Oh yeah,
All good things have got to come to an end.
yeah.
They do. They do. So, getting on to the main chunk of the episode, we are 11 days away, I think. Thursday now, so it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. 12 days away from the trade deadline. We can talk about it next week when we're about 5 days away, though there'll be a few things that happen between now and then. I think it's a good time to look and just have a little chat about some players that are available who we think may or may not get traded, some teams who may or may not be active in the market to make a trade, to trade someone off. I've got a couple of players here to start us off. I'm going to throw them out there. I want you to just think about what's going to happen. Did have Tyreek Hill, but with the injury and him being out for the season, I don't see much going on with regard to him being moved. Kirk Cousins. Could anything happen with Kirk Cousins by the end of the year? Well, within the next 12 days.
I don't think the Falcons will want to move him on because Penix has had a few, although he's been the starter, I still think that there's something about it that makes me feel like they're not completely sold on Penix, and I think he has had a few near misses in terms of potential injuries. And I just think with the fact that they are 4-2? I think 4-2 or 4-3 now,
4-3.
maybe.
4-3, yeah.
No.
That-
The
No, they're
Commanders
3-3.
are
3-3 because they've had
3-4.
that bye.
They're 3-4.
3-4, are they?
They've got the Chiefs this week, and I know I saw because it's the Chiefs are 4-3, they're 3-4 because it's flipped.
Sorry, yes, they're Why can't I see them?
No, they're not. Jeez, man. I'm thinking of the Commanders.
They're 3-3.
Why am I thinking of the Commanders?
Yeah, they're
They're
three
three
and
and
three
three.
because they've had their bye week already. They've just had their bye week, so they were 3-2. Had
Jesus,
they
why is
won,
it
they'd have
like?
gone 4-2.
Well,
Um,
I'll throw something in there as well for the Falcons, okay, yeah, regarding a Penix. What you have noticed with Michael Penix as well, when he performs either in Atlanta or in a dome-covered stadium or rather in an indoor stadium, he seems to play pretty well. As soon as he goes outdoors, it doesn't go particularly great.
yeah, I just don't think that they're willing to risk trading Kirk Cousins and leaving themselves short
They
with
won't.
Penix there. And I think that's the only reason that I think they'll stick with him is realistically, they probably have one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. And with someone as uncertain as Penix and where they maybe think that Kirk Cousins, may be able to help them or help them save face in some games or whatever, or simply just come in when Penix is having an absolute stinker, it gives them that opportunity to do that. And I think you take that away, and I think that it does basically say to them that it's Penix or nothing. So I just think that I think they'll stick with it, and I also don't think that there's anyone out there that'd be willing to take on his contract. Unless he has a, does he have a buyout after 2 years or something? I think I
I,
remember seeing
I don't
when
know.
they
Let
when
me
they.
double check.
I think there was something about after 2 years he could leave if someone bought out. So there was something I thought I saw when they signed the 4-year deal.
I'm going Spotrac.
But either way, I'm just not convinced that I don't think anyone would be looking at Kirk Cousins now and thinking he's either the solution or the makeshift right now on that contract. And also, I don't think that the Falcons will be wanting to entertain it unless someone comes in with a good enough offer.
Yeah. There's a potential out after 2 years, 90 million. So it'd only be 35 million in dead cap.
So there is the possibility that they'll look at that, but that would be at the end of this season, wouldn't it?
Potentially, because it's a significantly less of a hit.
Mm.
Um,
And also, you look at the games that they've got. I mean, I think that they've got. There are probably a couple of games in there where all it takes is for Penix to go down, and there are winnable games. And I think with someone like Kirk Cousins coming in, you have that assurance that you can still win those games. Whereas, if they don't have Kirk Cousins, then God knows who they would have afterwards.
yeah. It's interesting. I'm interested to see if anyone would actually be up for it right now, because who would be in the market for a quarterback that
The
would be
team, the
willing to?
teams that need a quarterback, obviously the big one is the Jets, but they're so bad they may as well just tank and just finish
If the
0-17.
Falcons traded Kirk Cousins to the Jets, he could end up doing a Gronk and saying, "Nope, fuck that. I'm just going to retire."
Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? The Jets have got Justin Fields.
Yeah, Justin Fields is getting benched for Tyrod Taylor.
Yes, he is.
That's when your
Yes,
career's over.
yes, he is. Ohio
Is it
State's
him or?
finest.
So, the fact that they haven't made a decision this week on whether Fields is going to be starting or not is a worrying thing.
We know who's going to start. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor. After what Woody Johnson, and I saw we're jumping a little bit off topic here, but what Woody Johnson said in that little interview that he did after the owners' meeting was straight up disgusting. He didn't call out Justin Fields out per person, but we know who he was referencing to. It
Mm.
was aimed at Justin Fields. So basically, they've got two quarterbacks, one that's scared to throw the football, and the other one who can't throw football because he's old. They're the capital F word doesn't even scratch the surface with the way their quarterback situation is.
And also,
And they can't use him. And if they
yeah,
did, because it's not, if it was the head coach that alienated, okay, coach's decision. Maybe the owner will step in and hang on a second, let's not be too hasty here. The owner pretty much said that. So not only have you now thinking of benching Justin Fields, you've also alienated him out of
mm,
the franchise.
yeah,
So if Tyrod Taylor can, let's just say who the Jets playing the Bungles. They're playing the Bungles this week, aren't they? If the freaking Bungles blow them out and Tyrod Taylor throws two interceptions, one of them being a pick six, they can't go back to Justin Fields because they alienated him.
yeah.
They've It's a clusterfuck of a situation.
That's why I genuinely think that they wouldn't go for another quarterback, because why not just realistically, they're going to be within the top 5 picks this year, if not
They,
number one.
they're gonna blow their first round pick on Mendoza. You watch.
But
You watch.
they're gonna bring in someone. Aren't they? They're going to have to go quarterback, and there's a few quarterbacks that potentially could be in there that they could go for. Likes of you know Nussmeier if he does go this year, and I say Mendoza, and there's a few others that are in the mix that they could potentially go for. But I don't think it matters with that team. I think they're just going to be a constant shit fest until they sort out their ownership, to be honest.
Mm. Sorry, Fletch. Continue with the segment.
No, it's fine.
I
No,
can't think of any other teams that are that desperate for a quarterback that they would go and pay for Kirk Cousins.
neither can I. I don't. That this is where I'm coming from in terms of what I'm saying. I just don't. The option's not there to get rid of him, because one thing we all forget. I say we all. I'm not calling out you two gentlemen here. Um, But so many people seem to forget when people want to go and trade and get a trade for their team, or want their team to go and want their team to go and trade for someone, or want their team to ship someone, or a player to be picked up. There are two parts of every trade. You have a trading team and a team that trades for. You have to have the other party. So it's all well and good saying, yeah, ship Kirk Cousins, but if there's no other party that wants him, all that would be rightly in the market for a Kirk Cousins, he ain't going nowhere. And I don't think there is a market for a Kirk Cousins right now.
The only way I could see Kirk Cousins leaving the Falcons would be if someone went in the opposite direction that was capable enough to be a QB2. Or if something silly happened, like the Jets traded for Kirk Cousins and sent Justin Fields the other way and made him a backup for Penix. Like that could be something that would be tenable, but I don't think it would. I don't think it would happen. It's just it's one of those crazy trades that people room about. But yeah, like you say, I don't think there's any other teams that would really are really that desperate enough to look at a quarterback. I mean, Browns definitely don't need a quarterback. Ravens, yeah, they've been crap, but they don't need a quarterback. The Dolphins, God knows what the Dolphins are going to do. To be honest, they're in a
Well, I got Quinn Ewers, but
situation. Didn't he come on the field though and nearly throw an interception for his first
that's
throw?
what I mean. They got Quinn Ewers. I mean, that's a bit like finding. That's a bit like finding the television remote after the house burnt down.
Can
I
we?
think
Can
he's
we?
he's. I'd like to see more outplay Ewers, but either way. And then I think Titans. Well, they've just picked up Cam Ward. They're not going to shift away from him. So
Can we finish? Can we finish this? It annoys me when people do this. They make half statements. The whole kind of like um. It's what you said is half a statement. The Browns don't need a QB. The full quote is actually, but when the fucking ever else has that stopped him from taking one? So
I think
that's not an argument, frankly.
no. I think they're quite set on Dylan Gabriel now, aren't they? They seem to have decided on him until he shits the bed, and then they throw Deshaun Watson back in because Shador Sanders is not getting a chance.
That's yeah. That's yeah. I can't have much for
Browns
words with that one. Brown's
merry-go-round
got a
of
Brown.
QBs.
I've got Ollie on the Pats touchback tomorrow night, so I'll find out how much I can push him before his intrusive thoughts come out.
Which we can't wait for, by the way. I'm very much looking forward. And I love that. I mean, I got the pleasure of going on and chatting with Ollie the other week, before the Lions and Browns game. I always love seeing when Hurdle, the Line can, and AEW people can all get together and do different things together. It's always great. Um, Moving on from quarterbacks, though, big man by the name of Trey Hendrickson. What happens to Trey?
I am gonna water this down and say I think he stays at Cincinnati
What leaves on a free at the end of the year.
and leaves on a free at the end of the year.
Mm.
I could see that happening. I mean, if I'm an organization that's literally, well, you're 3-4 right now. Your playoff hopes are not dead, but they're not exactly, you know, full of life right now. And they not only won a game against the Steelers on Thursday Night Football, they won it without Trey Hendrickson.
Mm.
So that kind of says a lot there, really. But if I'm an organization, then he's one of our pieces that, wants to ask for the trade, and this is his final year before he goes to free agency, I'm like, right, okay, well, we're not going to let you go on a free because that would be stupid on us. We're going to get something back for you, even if it is just like a third round pick and maybe a
Mm.
player that comes, maybe a young developmental player that comes back the other way.
Yeah.
And, I'll throw my team into the ring regarding of Trey Hendrickson because if there's one thing we are slightly lacking is pass rush, is sacking the quarterback. That's what we're rushing. That's what we're struggling with. Um, but me and our good friend Nick, we've gone backwards and forwards on he doesn't want to trade any of our draft capital. We said we wait until next year and so on. And I've argued back with him saying, well, there's no guarantee that we're going to end up in this same form next year as what we are this year. So I'd say strike while the iron's hot. Um,
I, I I agree with you in the sense I think that the Bengals will want to get something for him now.
mhm.
But I think there are plenty of teams that will happily wait until he's available. And it's whether there is a team like, say, like the Patriots, or trying to see maybe someone like the Cowboys, maybe,
Yeah,
you know,
Cowboys is
so,
it's a
or
possibility.
someone like that, where they think he will elevate our team now. Like if we're in a situation where we know we're close to the playoffs and we want to try and get there, he's the sort of player that you want to bring in to that team. It's whether there is the appetite from those teams to do it, and whether there's the actual trade there. I mean, yeah, the Bengals can go out and say, yeah, we want a third round pick or we want a player in return or whatever like that. But they may see it as, well, you're only, we can get him for a free in 6 months. We'll wait if you don't want. And, I can see there being issues around what the value of that trade will be. But I don't. For me, it's a lot more viable than the Kirk Cousins one because
It
I
is.
think there are teams that are genuinely interested.
I
I think there'll be a few people that'll be. There's a few teams that will be interested. Go on, Fletch.
I'll throw regarding Trey Hendrickson.
Hmm.
You want a team that's got, say, a top four in cap space to take on some of the contract that he does have right now. You'd want a team that was looking for an edge rusher. You'd want a team that has the draft capital, and there are not many teams that have that kind of thing.
Are we going to say the Lions by any chance?
Wow, yeah, I agree with you there, Sam. Yeah, we'll give
You're
the
fourth
Detroit
in cap
Lions.
space. You're fourth in cap
Fourth
space
in
with
cap
20,
space.
25.201 million.
Yeah. So the Lions, I think, would be the only problem I have here is I don't see Brad Holmes trading for a premium rusher. I know that they're in the market for an edge rusher. Again, it's just how premium they're willing to go on this one because right now that D line is generating the D line's generating pressure. They're doing really, really well on the defensive front. And Aiden Hutchinson is a wrecking ball, my friend. A
Yeah, I
wrecking
can't.
ball.
I don't want to picture Aiden Hutchinson on one side of the
I know, and Trey on
on
the
side
other.
of the defensive line and Trey Hendrickson on the other. Holy shit!
And then Elaine McNeil and DJ Reader.
You
That will
know,
be
this,
enough to shut down the Eagles' offense. That would be enough to shut down the Eagles' offense.
you know who I think could, and I hate that I'm going to have to say this, but you know someone who I think
Ooh,
actually really could, thinking about it, could really go for him.
Seattle.
The 49ers.
Well, they've roughly got the same amount of cap space, 23 million and 21 million. They have
Also,
40.
the Niners do not have Nick Bosa for the whole year.
True.
And if you
True.
shoved Trey Hendrickson into that position, it would shore up some of the issues that they have on that D line quite at the moment, although it has still been good. And then for next season, they can make the decision on whether they want to sign him or not on a longer deal, and potentially have Trey Hendrickson and Nick Bosa on that D line, which would
You
again.
do realize you're backing yourself into a corner here, being a Rams fan, with what you just said there.
Well, it's still the truth behind it is that that would make sense for them given the position they're in. We're for one definitely not in the market for it. I can say it, not because of the fact we've got 15 million cap space, but we don't need him. Although he'd be a luxury to have if we threw him in alongside the Verse and Fisk and Byron Young and all of those. It'd be don't think
Well,
anyone would be getting past us, to be honest. But
I'm looking at the Rams in cap space for
we've got
15 million.
15.5 mil.
Yeah, 50.5 million cap space. So
We're also not really one to do big trades like that for players like that. We tend to just give away first round picks for other things.
we'll give up a first round pick for Max Crosby then.
Yeah, we're not that desperate.
Max Crosby's going nowhere.
I know, yeah, I know.
He's gonna die. He's gonna die in Las Vegas.
He's gonna
And
die he's gonna die a Raider.
But I think you look at any of those top teams, all the way, I would say all the way down to the Seahawks. If you take out the Browns, any of those teams, I think, would make sense for him to go there. I think the Patriots, it makes sense. You've got the most cap space. It makes sense as a move. The Cowboys, I think it makes sense for a move. They have got a slight gap there now. Obviously.
Commanders.
Commanders,
Their defense isn't great right now.
no. I think they could do with someone like Henderson to elevate them again. Lions, obviously, you'd just be making them very good on that D line. Browns, no. 49ers, again, possibility. Seahawks, again, is a
oh,
possibility.
I hate the thought just mentioning the Browns, imagining Miles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson.
I know that would be.
Oh,
And then
shitting hell.
Mason Graham up the middle, like, oh,
But again, and then maybe something to think about as well with this, because you see this with a lot of teams that may then rule out the Patriots, is would the Bengals be more inclined to trade with an NFC team than necessarily an AFC team?
I think that would be I think, regardless on what side of the conference you are, I think it would be better trading to the other conference from the
Yeah,
other team as well, because at least then you're only playing them once every 4 years. You don't have
yeah,
to worry about that player again. Whereas if you trade to an AFC team, it could be once every 2 years, or maybe you play twice in the last 3 years, depending where
yeah,
you are situated in the league standings. But if teams want a premium player, then they're going to have to pay up for it. It
mm,
depends. It all depends on the want.
mm,
I look at my team as a team that we could do with this guy, but we know we could wait to free agency. The thing
yeah,
is that we are waiting. My team is sort of like we always like wait for the second bus. We know we won't get on the first one. We'll get on the second bus. Well, that second bus might not be there if the first bus has pissed off and gone already. So that's the
yeah,
problem we got. You know Jerry Jones. If he knows Trey Hendrickson is worth taking, you know that Jerry Jones is on the blow already.
yeah.
You know that for a fact. Come
Especially as
on.
the one thing that he said after that Packers game, wasn't it? That
Mm.
they're one defensive player away from being contenders.
They're not Super Bowl contenders. You watch them get
He
bounced.
he also said after Micah Parsons got traded that they got picks back and they could turn them picks into a Pro Bowl player, which is still my favorite meme of the entire year. Was trade away a Pro Bowl All Pro defensive end and then say we've got picks that could be an All Pro
Mm.
Pro Bowl defensive end, which remind always was funny because people reference the Family Guy.
Yeah, but at
We
least
could
he
have a
hasn't
boat,
shit.
or
Yes,
we
but
could
at
have a
least he has.
mystery box, which could be a boat.
Yeah, but at least he hasn't he hasn't shat on a player's a player's scheme or how they play and so on,
I
how
mean,
bad they play.
that's true. He has Jerry Jones has done a lot of things, but he hasn't come out and said my quarterback can't complete a pass.
Mm.
Like someone else has done this week, but no, he just paid $250,000 to stick the middle finger up at some people, and then told everyone he thought it was a thumbs up. But no,
But yeah, talking about
I
the Trey Hendrickson, there is the
yeah,
real possibility he could get traded.
very real possibility. And actually, I agree with Carl there in the sense that like I don't see the Bengals. The Bengals have to get something back through.
Mm.
They're not gonna let him. I don't think they're gonna let him go. They're gonna try and get something out of him. And the problem again, what I just mentioned this as far as trades go, is like, yeah, you've got to have two parties for a trade, but also we talk all the time about teams that are desperate and teams that really want a player and they end up paying over the odds because, like, well, you're desperate for an edge rusher, so this player who's worth a first, you're now paying a first and a third, or you get fleeced a little bit. But also, what about teams that are clearly desperate to get rid of someone? Right? You the leverage kind of leaves when you're a bit like, listen, we just want something for him, and it's like, well, teams turn up and go, okay, we'll give you a third.
Mm.
It's worth more than a third, yeah, but no one's gonna give you.
Yeah, but I can wait until 6 months and know that I'll get him for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas I think you end up coming up though, and then the next week, and this is where I think it's going to be a really fun conversation to have next week, is going back a little bit to pretender contenders. And which teams are that 1-2 players away? Because the trade deadline comes into, and after next week's games, really comes into, after this weekend's games, sorry, it comes into, it's kind of the week, sorry, it's kind of the week after, because you finished on the Monday and then the trade deadline's on the Tuesday. But this is where you start seeing teams that are like, we are close. Trey Hendrickson will turn us into a contender, or Trey Hendrickson will turn us into a so and so will turn us into this, and so will turn us into that. And you start getting players who are like, damn, that man, that guy is good. But unfortunately, he plays for the Jets. Speaking of which, Garrett Wilson.
No, I think his contract's too big. His contract is too big.
I think that if they do trade him, that'd be the Jets admitting that they are going to be number one pick straight away.
So Garrett Wilson's contract I'm looking at right now. Obviously, he signed a new deal in 2025. Yeah, and that goes all the way through to I think till
This
2030.
year,
It's a 5-year deal, I think.
this year it'd be a dead cap space of 34 million.
Yeah, next year will be 24. It's a shocking contract. Do you know what? I reckon he might have signed that contract before Aaron Rodgers said, "Nope, see you later. I'm now not. I'm not gonna stay here anymore." And Wilson's like, "Fudge."
Quite
I feel
possibly. Yeah.
sorry for him because he's a bloody. I think he's a very, very good receiver. Very good receiver when you give him the ball, that is. But he's just not getting it at the Jets right now. No, I don't think Garrett Wilson's Trisha. Someone is going to have to give up a lot.
Yeah, because he's one of those players where he will turn any wide receiver group he'll be levels.
It'll
He'll
be the
level
next
them up.
level. It'll be the next
Yeah.
level.
And I think again, you'd be looking at teams that would need the cap space for it. And to me, at the current state, the only team that would be able to actually do that would be someone like the Patriots. And I don't see the Patriots doing that trade with the Jets.
No, because we've still got to pay Christian Gonzalez yet. If Drake May continues to thrive, we probably have to wait till about 2027 till we can probably give him his big contract as well. Christian Barmore will need re-signing. Chason might get paid in the off season as well because he's starting to perform at edge. We've got players that we need to pay, so it's all right saying, "Oh yeah, we've got the most cap space as it stands right now." It's all about balance for us. It's all about balancing it. Have we got enough space to go after this premium, like a Trey Hendrickson? We're not going to go after Garrett Wilson because the Jets are not going to trade Garrett Wilson to us. They're not going to do it. If they do that, they might as well delete the franchise because there's no way that they'll do that.
Well, if they were to do it, they'd. I think the owner might
For the greater good of New
lynched.
York City as well.
I think he might. I think the owner would get lynched. But yeah, that's probably one of the few that I would say. One of the ones that I would say definitely no trade will be there.
Nah,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
What about Jacoby Myers? In terms of receivers who could be on the move.
Yeah, he could be potentially traded. There will be receivers out there that desperately need receiver help. I'm trying to think of somewhere where he can go, where he could thrive when it's not Tennessee.
Buccaneers, maybe.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Steelers.
Be a wide receiver in Pittsburgh.
He
potentially.
is a wide
I
receiver
think he
too.
could be.
He is a wide receiver too. He's never been a wide receiver one.
And I know you and I disagree on this a little bit, Carl, but I think that the Steelers' offense has been annoyingly better than I thought it would be. They've lost George Pickens, the most frustrating part of it, because Mike Tomlin is normally that, like, if Mike Tomlin gets rid of a player, you know they're going to be crap because Mike Tomlin seems to know when to get rid of a player. But the George Pickens thing must be really frustrating for him because he's gone to Dallas and then all of a sudden he's been really, really good.
That's because he's getting the ball.
think
That's why.
But
I think there's more of an attitude issue with Pickens than it was ability.
But there does seem to be that Mike Tomlin gets rid of someone and all of a sudden the career starts to derail a little bit.
I think the only other exclusion you got for that is Antonio Brown.
Juju as well, I would say. Juju.
Yeah, but Juju ended up winning the Super Bowl, so
So like I will say, well, so did half that practice squad. Don't mean they did anything for it, but I like annoyingly what the Steelers are doing with their offense, and I think they become contenders if they bring in a proper wide receiver too. I think they can be they're a lot closer to being genuine contenders than I think. Again, Carl, you might not agree with this, judging by last week's reaction when I said it. You definitely don't agree with it. But bring in a proper wide receiver too, someone that Jacoby Myers could be, and I think Steelers are off.
It would make them much more of a contender in the AFC playoff, but I still don't think it would be enough to push on. They'd get to the playoffs comfortably, I think, with that Jacoby Myers. But I think there's too many. There are much better teams out there than the Steelers.
What about teams? Are there any particular teams out there who you're looking and thinking, right, you are a player away, a couple of players away? Who do you think is going to be active over the next week in terms of making phone calls?
I think maybe someone from the NFC West. I think either Seattle or the 49ers, I think will be definitely making inquiries because I think that they, especially the 49ers, they've really struggled with their offense in terms of keeping players fit. I was joking on with my wife the other day that they're sacrificing everyone and anyone to keep Christian McCaffrey fit, doing some weird voodoo shit to keep him fit. So I think they could potentially be looking at maybe sort of someone to fill that Fred Warner void potentially. Obviously, they've lost Nick Bosa.
Yeah,
They've lost, a lot of pieces, important pieces as well. So they could be potentially looking at filling those voids potentially, but it just depends who's out there. Like Trey Hendrickson would make sense for them to go and get for that Bosa fill. But I also think the Seahawks are probably a couple of pieces away from being in that spot as well. Because again, more on the defensive side than necessarily the offensive side. I think, that's been more of a case of that Cooper Kupp's just not being involved, weirdly enough. He tried to make a throw and completely botched it. But I think on the defensive side, I think that they're potentially going to need a couple of pieces there, and they could potentially be playoff contenders.
yeah.
I don't think we are, although I would like to think that we would look at a defensive back. I still think our backs are not very good.
The Bucks need offensive line help
Mm.
desperately. So do the Chargers as well. They need offensive line help. Even the Patriots, they need help. I think we're looking at depth at corner. We're looking at obviously edge rusher, and we're also looking at running back as well. Now, I know we're not going to give a preview for, say, I don't know, someone like Derrick Henry or something like that. That's not going to happen. I think we've been looking at Damian Pierce out of the Houston Texans, who right now has become a healthy scratch throughout the entirety of this season. He's not being used.
Mm.
So maybe a 7th-round pick swap or something to send to Houston, and we'll get Damon Pierce to help, because obviously losing Antonio Gibson for the season is not good for us.
He must be in his final year of his rookie contract now, Damian Pierce, surely.
Good question. Hang on.
I think he's in the final year.
I can remember how to spell.
Yeah, he is. He's a free agency as of next year. He's accrued 3 seasons.
Okay.
So, yeah, he'll be free agency at the end of this year. By the looks of it.
Okay, fair enough.
So he's a viable option, but again, you'd probably be able to get him quite cheap.
It'll be like 7th-round pick swap.
Yeah.
It'll be pennies on the dollar. Wouldn't be anything. Cowboys need defensive help at somewhere. They need defensive help somewhere because they're still not good.
They just need help.
Lions, I think they need help in the secondary due to injuries.
Yeah.
So maybe you get another corner. There is a corner out there. I actually think he'll be brilliant for the Lions. And he's a former Patriot, but we called him Lockdown Gilly for a reason. Stephon Gilmore doesn't need to play all the snaps.
Sure.
He just needs to be. He just needs to be in the key situations, like red zone defense and that sort of thing.
His name pops up. It's weird. Every time I speak to Lions fans about corners, every time I see a Lions beat writer talk about corners, and this has been for about 3-4 years now, Stephon Gilmore's name comes up every single time. Every single time.
Yeah.
Is he a free agent at the moment?
He's a free agent, yeah.
I mean, I'd take him at the Rams, to be fair.
Asante Samuel Jr. is also a free agent as well.
Is.
But we won't pick him up because his father got pissy with Bill Belichick back in the day.
I don't know. Maybe that'll work in his favour now.
We could potentially be looking at a safety with Kitchens got carted off at Wembley.
Kitchen's got carted off. I didn't
Yeah,
even see that. I didn't even see
yeah,
that.
Kinchin's got carted off in the early part of the third quarter. Um, so we could potentially be in for a safety. But again, I don't know how serious. I've not seen much on how serious that injury is, but that could be a potential. But I think it's such a difficult point because I think there's plenty of teams that could go out there, but it's whether the right deal could be there for them.
Is if they want to. There's always going to be one team that's going to make a massive trade. It's going to be something talked about for weeks and weeks on end, and it'll blow up in their face.
Yeah, I mean we've been linked with the likes of Derek Henry, which I don't get.
No, you got Kyron Williams. You got Kyron Williams or Blake Corum. You don't need Derek Henry.
Yeah, I think that's more just because they're saying that that it's for somewhere that he could go to potentially win a ring.
True. But then again, he could also, well, I would say go to the Chiefs, but no, that can't happen. Yeah.
But I don't think that being a deal would be a thing. It was more just what I saw of the latest.
If the Ravens lose the next two games and then drop to 1-7, then I can see the potentiality of them trading Derrick Henry then, because then the Ravens then have got to run the table and go 10-7. Can you trust them with that defense?
No.
Sadly not. So we could see that personally.
Obviously, another one that I've seen a name banded about is Breece Hall potentially being traded.
I so want Breece Hall on my Patriots team, but we know that's not going to happen.
No.
And also, he's a free agent next year.
Yeah. I could see him being traded to the NFC. Don't know who to, but I could see him being traded to the NFC.
Can you imagine the uproar if he gets traded to not just in the AFC, but he gets traded to an AFC East team? Can you imagine the uproar? I don't think it will happen, but
again, who needs a running back at this stage? All the teams that I think where he could potentially go to elevate that team, I don't think that they would need a running back.
Arizona
do need a running back, but that's shit. Like, why would he go?
Okay, I set you up too well for that one, I think.
Does he know?
Commanders.
They got Jacory Kloski-Merritt, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but imagine adding him to that running back group, because they've only got Eckler, who's obviously out on IR, and he could potentially, he's one injury away from retiring. They could potentially be looking at Breece Hall and Bill as a two. That'd be scary good, along with Jayden Daniels, who can run. That's the only thing that I would think where they wouldn't need to is they've got Jayden Daniels to do the running for them, as well as
when his hamstring's still intact.
True. But yeah, I don't see any of the. I mean, Lions don't need a running back. Vikings don't really need a. I mean, they may want to look at a running back in the future, but I don't think they need one now. We don't need a running back. Eagles definitely don't need a running back. Packers don't. Bears?
Nah, they got DeAndre Swift.
No, they got Jonas Swift.
And they got that Mongani kid as well, who's taking some.
Off that. Yeah. Falcons don't need a running back. Broncos, maybe.
But yeah, I'm not.
They've just gone and got RG Harvey, and I think they're gonna lean on him a bit more.
Yeah, but they've also got J.K. Dobbins as well. But until he crystallizes into glass again.
Fins, Achane, but I wouldn't shock me if they moved him on.
Devon Achane, I think will get traded. Devon Achane will get traded, and Ollie Gordon's going to be the one to go. Going to be the bell cow for the Dolphins. So I can see Achane. Is that going to
be an end of year thing, or is that going to be now?
Do you have any hope of the Dolphins this season?
Well, no, but
no, blow it up. I've said this for time. The GM needs to go. The coach needs to go. The quarterback needs to go. Just blow the whole thing up and start from scratch.
Giants definitely don't need a running back.
No,
Colts don't.
No, Colts definitely don't. Jonathan Taylor's on a madness right now.
Chiefs would be a good move, but they don't have the cap space.
No, they don't.
And the Chargers, again, need a running back, but don't have the cap space. And the Bills don't need a running back. So there's very few teams that need a running back at this stage that would be able to pay for that sort of player.
What about AJ Brown?
He's injured, isn't he?
Injured, but he's the amount of things I've hearing about. He could be potentially traded. He could be on the trading
Mhm.
block and so on. I mean, when there's smoke, there's fire.
But again, what teams are going to look at? Because I'm assuming he's got a fairly big contract.
I can look that up for you right now. Top contracts as wide receiver. His contract is 32 million a year.
So
Uh,
not is anyone willing to take that on right now? Would again, it would be someone that would have the cap space to do it. And I don't
32
think
million. There's only
would
one.
the
There's only one team that's got the cap
yeah
space for that,
would
and that's
would the Patriots entertain it?
AJ Brown, Mike Vrabel connection. I'm from Tennessee. It's the only logical pick, but
But
I've
again, it then goes.
when I first heard this rumor go out, I was like, yes, AJ Brown back with Vrabel, AJ Brown, Diggs, more looking after looking after Keishon Butte, looking after Pop Douglas, looking after Kyle Williams, looking after Hunter Henry. It'll be absolutely brilliant. But the more this season has gone on, and the more he has just spoken about it on social media, the more he's acting like a passive aggressive twat. So no, I don't want AJ Brown at this moment in time because what we've got right now in the receiving room is actually a good group of guys.
Hmm.
Everyone's in cohesive. Everyone's in not in love with each other, but you know what I mean. They're all they're working together, working hard together. Bringing AJ Brown in might be great for stardom to say, yeah, now we're elevating ourselves. But could that cause distress in the locker room because of AJ Brown's
Given
mental
given
state?
given how Stefan Diggs has a reputation for
He
blowing
want
up,
he wants the ball.
and he wants the ball. Imagine having both Stefan Diggs and AJ Brown both want the ball. Imagine the
Oh no,
potential
no.
toxicity that could happen with that.
This is why I've come to the conclusion now that I don't want AJ Brown at the Patriots.
Yeah. It
I've
would
come
only
to
it would only work if he's the single wide receiver.
if we send Stephon Diggs to the Eagles
Yeah,
and
that
we
would
get
work.
AJ Brown, then that could work.
Yeah,
But Diggs is working so well for Drake May right now. Why would
yeah,
you lose that connection? It just makes no sense. We've got bigger holes
yeah.
to do, like
And
edge,
like I
like
say,
linebacker, like corner.
yeah,
I'm basically talking about the defensive side of the ball. Even though our defense is fifth in scoring defense, but we're giving up a shit ton of yardage, and that's something I don't like. I would
but
rather,
again,
you know.
if you want to pay for that big contract, that's going to take a massive chunk out of your future cap space as well,
Yes, and then we can't
which
pay
obviously is then the
Gonzo, and then
next
we're going to
thing.
struggle to pay Drake May.
Yeah,
It makes no
so
sense for us. So it's all right for someone to say, "Oh
it's
yeah, we'll trade for AJ Brown." The problem is though, you better have the cap for the next 3, 4 years because that contract is. Let me just bring that contract back up again. Sorry, where is it? AJ Brown. Here we go. So the dead cap, 2025 alone is 72 million in dead cap. 2026 is 49 million. Then 2027 it drops to 4. 2028 12. 29 23 million. And then 2030 right at the end 53 million. So the only way he's getting traded is in 2027.
mhm, yeah.
AJ Brown is
Or
stuck there.
or or if he goes to another team on the proviso that they then restructure his contract immediately. I can't see any team still doing that. That's the thing.
What's on his cap number though? I need to do some math on this cap. So someone think of another name and I'll do the workout on this cap.
I think either way, I think AJ's contract is probably going to be the main reason he doesn't.
It's an
keeping to get
albatross.
traded.
It's an
Yeah.
albatross of a contract. Let's go 2025 and I'll start from scratch. Right. Okay.
While you do that, once we've done this, I want to move on to the next little bit, and then
That's fine.
um, yeah.
Is there anyone else that you can think of that could like, and we're talking like major potential trades? So we mentioned Brees Hall, we've mentioned AJ Brown, um, and talked about the others. Is there anyone else you can think of that sort of would benefit from a trade or would be looking to be traded?
I'm not sure. What feels really weird, I don't know about you guys, but it feels this year like there are so many high profile injuries that I don't know, it just feels a bit like an odd trade year with so many high profile injuries and just there aren't that many high profile trade candidates.
Mm.
Everyone's raving about how this trade deadline is going to be absolutely ferocious and everyone's going to be buy. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think there's going to be three, maybe four teams that might make some noise, but usually the trade deadline doesn't really kick on that much. When was it?
I'm
Like
thinking,
2 years ago, 2023 or 2022? The trade
oh,
deadline completely blew up. Oh, what's
I
that?
don't know if it.
Bengals linebacker Logan Wilson has requested a trade.
Oh,
Oh, I'm after. I'm after this.
I'm gonna say Logan Wilson. I feel like he might want a trade. Um, out of
You
Bengals.
can't do that.
Um, it's just a name off the top of my head that I think could be up for a potential
Right,
potential
all right,
trade.
all right. Now we're going into the meat and potatoes of everything now.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
I'll tell you what though, just while we're on this, Kyle, I don't know if you've got the information up yet that you were looking for. That there's one thing that I think the US doesn't do that they could really benefit from, right? Based on what we get in the UK, and that's trade deadline.
mhm.
They don't have transfer deadline day,
Transfer deadline day.
and I
No.
think like you've got to have a reporter outside all 32 teams training facilities at one point at like, and again it's a 4
A,
p.m.
A,
deadline.
AJ Brown turns up at the Chiefs wanting a trade. Turns
Yeah,
out he's gone to the wrong place. They're not going to
yeah.
trade him.
Who was it who did that? Yes, or who was it who turned up and the deal fell through when
It
he turned up in
was
the car park? Um,
oh
I watched it because it was
Peter,
brilliant.
was it Peter Adam Wingy?
It might,
Hold on. Yeah,
yeah.
Peter Odemwingie. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Okay, cool.
that was
Right.
but
Just,
fun.
sorry. Before you carry on, I've just got the contract up for Logan Wilson right now. So it's scheduled at 2025 right now. His dead cap in 25, if it was cut pre-June the 1st, would have been 1.7 million. In 2026, it'll be 5.5, and in 2027, it'll be 7.2. His actual base salary, from what I gathered for this year, was 5.3 million. Next year will be 6, and 2027 will be 6.65. I think a third or fourth round pick, Logan Wilson's gone.
Yeah, that's quite a friendly contract as well, isn't it?
Very friendly, very friendly. And we
yeah,
need linebacker help as well. And out of all the defensive players, bar Trey Hendrickson, I do actually like Logan Wilson.
Mm.
I do like Logan Wilson.
I think
um,
there's enough teams that need a linebacker as well that he could
yeah,
easily
Yeah,
get
there are.
Davis in.
There are. Yeah.
plenty. No, absolutely. But like I say, just as to wrap up this, I do think that transfer deadline day should be a thing in America, and
Mhm.
it'd be like the traditional. But like I say, the 4 p.m. Eastern time deadline doesn't suit a deadline day. I think you've got to have it set at least 9 p.m. Eastern time, so you can have like 7 p.m. guy stood outside, like Rich Eisen stood outside the Chiefs facility, and Andy Reid does the like Harry Redknapp. Um, yeah, I just think that's the one thing where I'm a bit like, come on, man, like US, you've got to be doing better at this. Kay Adams stood outside the Bucks. You know, did I just feel like they can do this better. This could be so much better. Um, I also don't think the US would have the same like someone's because I remember a few times like they'd be stood outside a training facility and then a few fans would figure it out.
Yeah,
and they'd go and stand behind them and wave like a dildo or something on the screen because it was funny. Um,
that was you,
so
wasn't it, Fletch? You were one of those.
there's one fan base who I know for a fact has done that, and that was Manchester City Football Club. Um,
It was you. What you're saying is
cannot
you're
confirm,
advertising what you did when you were younger.
cannot confirm nor
Or deny
deny. Um,
it.
just know that I'm very glad that I balaclavaed up, so no one will ever actually know it was me.
But you've just
Um,
admitted it now on this recording, so well
no, I didn't.
done.
It's alleged. Alleged.
Allegedly.
People are going to wonder where this 3 minutes of conversation went from the edit, why it was just all randomly me. No. Okay, so there's trade deadline. We're going to be speaking a lot more about it. I imagine that the review team are going to get a couple of chances to talk about it on Monday. But we'll have some more to talk about next week before the trade deadline officially hits on the 4th of November, which is a Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So that'll be 9 p.m. GMT or well BST. So that'd be, in fact, no, I think that's the week where the clocks have gone back here. So it'd actually be 4 p.m. Eastern.
Five. Five. Oh, hang on. What for trade deadline
It's
or
4
game?
p.m. Eastern. It's almost always 4 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
But because
Yeah,
it's normally 5 hours, but I think that's the week the our clocks go back, but theirs don't
Hmm.
yet.
ours go
So
back to Sunday. This Sunday.
this Sunday,
Ours
Yeah.
go back this Sunday. Yeah, because it's 5 o'clock 5 o'clock kickoffs.
I
No,
cannot
start
wait
time.
to be watching college football at 2 in the morning, then at 1 in the morning, then at 2 in the morning. Um, but no, it's yeah, there's going to be so much to talk about between now and then. I'm going to run off with my game of the week, which look, I'm not gonna let there's 6 teams on bye week, so it's a bit of a shorter week than normal. There aren't that many standout games this weekend, particularly from a really exciting point of view. But one game did stand out just a bit to me, and that was the Green Bay Packers at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number one, because that's Aaron Rodgers against the Packers, which should be a lot of fun. Plus, these two teams have a great little historical um, rivalry, I guess, going on. It dates all the way back to 1933, two of the original NFL teams, two of the earliest NFL teams. They first met, like I said, in 1933. Green Bay Packers won the first 9 games, a streak that lasted between 1933 and 1946. The two have met 37 times overall. The Packers lead that series 20-17. Now, if they went on a 9 game win streak, that would mean that it's been 11 wins to the Packers, 17 to the Steelers ever since. It's been pretty even. The two notably met in 2011 at Super Bowl 45, where the Packers won at 31-25. Obviously, it's the only way that those two can meet in the playoffs, given AFC and NFC. Green Bay have won 2 of the last 8 of these meetings. It's most recently been dominated by the Steelers. 5 of the last 6 games have been one-score games. So not only do the Steelers tend to dominate this matchup, but they also tend to be very close, at least as of late. That is my game of the week. The Green Bay Packers at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I could see this being a very close game again
Hmm.
Yeah,
because both teams, I think, are in a position where they. I think both teams need to win this game. Probably the Packers need to win it a bit more
absolutely.
because of the situation of their division. But I also think that the Packers are probably, yes, they've won their last 2, but I don't think they've necessarily been majorly convincing wins. And I still think, I mean, obviously, I've already put question marks over the Packers this year already. I think they need to get that win over the Steelers, and I think that'll probably put when we say about statement wins, this feels like it would be a statement win
Yeah.
if they beat the Steelers. And also, I think
They
for the other side, the Steelers probably need a win after losing to the Bengals last week. Because if they lose to the Packers, they'll only be 4-3, and you could potentially see someone like the Bengals, if they then won their game, which probably going to against the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
They could only be 4-3, and the Bengals could be 4-4, which puts the Bengals ever closer to challenging them for that title. Because realistically, I don't think that's as comfortable a division as probably people expected it to be at the start of the year. So I think this could be a really decisive game for both teams in terms of their overall season, and certainly how it then plays out for the rest of their future weeks.
Yeah. The thing is with this game, and well, the last two Bengals games have been Packers, Steelers. Now, obviously, as you've just mentioned, the Bengals beat the Steelers it was a very close one, but the Bengals kind of always had control of that game for the most part, and it was the Steelers playing catch up. I will say that the Packers, as much as yes, they won, and yes, it was technically it was officially a two-score game. The Packers were not convincing in that win whatsoever, and since week 2, they haven't been convincing. They lost to the Browns, they tied against the Cowboys, they had a bye week, they beat the Bengals only just, then looked frankly poor against the Cardinals despite coming out with a win. Now, you can't go wrong with being 2-0 in October. You can't go wrong with 2 wins out of 2. Like, I'm not taking that away from them, but they have looked relatively poor these last 3-4 games. They desperately need that, not just a win, but a pretty convincing win away from home. The 1-1-1.
They had to pull out their ass in the fourth quarter against the Cardinals, didn't they? They were down,
the Jacoby Brissett-led Cardinals.
Yeah. It was 2013 going into that last quarter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So
it was.
They needed to pull it out their ass, and they eventually did. But like you say, it's not convincing, and they need to start convincing people, and that's why I see this as being that statement win. If they can beat the Steelers, that'll put them 5-1-1. With the Lions on a bye week, that obviously helps them.
Yeah.
And I think, would it potentially put them top of the division if they were to win?
They're already top of the division.
Are they?
So it would. A win's not gonna.
But it would solidify it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you half a game ahead of the Lions.
Yeah, because they're number one in the division, aren't they?
Yeah, because they're 4-1-1. The Lions are 5-2. They're basically a game / half a game. It's weird because after this weekend, we'll all be on the same record, like on the same number of games. All the NFC North has had the bye week. So, but right now, what is it? I mean, how do you class it?
They're 0.75, aren't they?
They're 0.75.
You're 0.714.
Yeah, so they're like half a game ahead of the Lions.
And that's because of that bloody tie.
And yeah, that's good. The tie is just messing everyone about. But that's they'll be like a game and a half ahead of the Lions. With
it would to win that game against the Steelers on a game where you have a bye week would be massive for the Packers, in all sense of the word, because it puts down a statement against a team that's arguably at the moment, I would say, the favourites for their division. And like I say, it also then puts them that one higher step above the teams in their own division.
So where the Steelers sit right now, they're sitting at 5-2, aren't they?
Who? The Lions?
No, Steelers.
Steelers are 4-2.
Steelers are 4-2.
4-2.
Yeah, they've had a bye week.
If they lose, they go 4-3, and if the Bengals win,
and if the Bengals win, Bengals play the Jets, so they will win. So it'll be 4-4. Now,
so
all of a sudden, the AFC North now no longer is in the Steelers' hands.
Yeah,
they don't control their own destiny at the minute anymore. If this Sunday night game will be so important. If the Steelers win, I think it will this is a statement win that they needed.
Mm.
But if they lose to Green Bay, the narrative is going to be, oh yeah, the Steelers are only duffed up only the bad teams. Well,
Well,
and they fluked one of them.
look, I think the funny part is the Bengals do have the Jets this weekend, so I'll get on to that's the Fletch special. But the Bengals are probably going to go 4-4. The Steelers, if they lose, end up 4-3. And how you are, by the grace of a bye week, one game ahead of the Bengals in a division where
half
the
a
Ben
game,
like
half a game ahead of the Bengals
yeah, yeah.
because remember the Bengals have beat the Steelers, so they got the tiebreaker.
Well, actually, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
that's true. You're basically half game ahead of the Bengals. So, like, how you can be in that, and this AFC North has to be the weakest AFC North in a while. I apologize, Ollie. The Browns look that the Browns are half a team. They're a defense,
Browns are Browning.
and the offense is crawling over the line for them at times. The Ravens are just terrible right now, and the Bengals are in a position where they should not be winning any games because they've not got Joe Burrow. They've got so many missing defensive pieces. They've got like a terrible O-line, and somehow the Steelers can't walk away with it. I think you throw that whole division in the bin. Just Roger Goodell should come out and say the AFC North is not allowed to compete in the playoffs.
Ooh,
Not allowed. I'm not
I
even
don't
being
think
funny.
Ollie's going to be happy with you with that.
The Pittsburgh Steelers should be grabbing this division by the balls and saying it's ours, and
Mm.
nobody. If you can't do that, there are problems. There are problems, and maybe it's the Mike.
There are numerous times the Steelers have had a bit of a long lead in the division, and then it gets to like crunch time at the end, and then they fall off.
Mm.
And the thing, but like even then, the thing is, after this week, they've got the Colts, and then they've got okay, like the Chargers are a bit disappointing, but that should be a toughish game. They're on the road. Then they've got the Bengals, whom, well, as we said, the Bengals have already beat them. This is not. It ends up becoming a tougher schedule than you actually think it should have been
Mm.
for the Colts, the Chargers, the Bengals, the Bears, the Bills, the Ravens, the Dolphins. That's an
I
extra bye
I
week.
don't want the Steelers to fail. I want them to not win the division. I just want them to get a wild card because then I want them to come back to Foxborough and face us when we don't turn the ball over five fucking times.
Mm.
I just. It's just the Bills will get going. The Ravens will start putting stuff together once Lamar's back properly. So you get a run of like the Bears are. We'll figure out whether the Bears do their normal thing of play really well for the first third of a season, and then it's like they forget how to play football. And I don't think Ben Johnson's going to have that problem. I think Matt Eberflus had that problem. Ben Johnson won't. That's gonna be that's a really tough running when you actually put it down on paper now. And I think
Mm.
Perth, what does Tankathon say? Where are they? They've got the
Tankathon, is this
19th
is that
toughest.
something that exists?
Tankathon, according to Tankathon, they've got the 19th toughest strength of schedule.
It seems a bit low.
That's what I'm thinking now. But the class is like the weakest, easiest opponents. They've got the Ravens twice, the Browns, the Bengals, and the Dolphins.
But saying the Ravens are easy, I think, is a misstep because they one, it's a divisional game, and two, it's just been a very shit defensive Ravens team, and then without their star guy.
Yeah, and they'll get people back. They'll get Lamar back, and those two games will be that's December and the end of beginning of January.
Mm.
I just it's the Steelers need to win at the weekend. I mean, the Steelers absolutely need to win at the weekend, and for the Packers, it's absolutely the same because they haven't exactly got an easy schedule. And again, per Tankathon, theirs is the seventh hardest schedule in terms of strength of schedule for the rest of the season.
Where is this strength of schedule on my
Uh,
used to be?
tankathon.com/NFL remaining schedule strength.
I mean, you look at theirs;
Oh, I see. I got it.
they've
I
got the
got it now. I got it
Panthers,
now.
The Panthers at home, which are better than the Panthers away.
If Carolina really upset the odds and beat Buffalo, then we can say, okay, Carolina, okay, we see
But
you,
then
we
you've
see
got
you
the
now.
Eagles. The Eagles are still the Eagles. The Giants are very difficult to beat, although you should be beating them, I still think. The Vikings divisional game, always going to be difficult. Lions divisional game, always going to be difficult. And the same with the Bears. Then you've got the Broncos, Bears, Ravens, Vikings. Like that, that's a horrendous running.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only saving grace is they don't have to play the Lions twice because they've already played them.
Yeah. Thanksgiving, and you mentioned that the game where they played the Lions before the Bears, they get like I think it's 10 days to recover after the Lions game. It's like that's the Thanksgiving game, and I'm telling you now, that is a revenge game.
Mm.
That's Dan Campbell's kneecap tour game.
Not to jump ahead of the gun here because we're like month, 5 weeks away from Thanksgiving. But this actually Thanksgiving slate actually looks like really good on paper for like the first time in God knows how long. Packers at the Lions, you got the Chiefs at the Cowboys. Well, we know that's going to be a freaking fireworks display. And then there's I don't know what the late night game is. I can't remember what the late night game is.
On
It's the
Thanksgiving.
Bears game, isn't it?
It's the Bengals Ravens.
Oh,
Bengals,
flipping hell.
Ravens.
Because
But that
Bears
actually,
Eagles is Black Friday.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, it is. Yeah, my bad.
yeah, Bengals Ravens. So that'll be. I don't think Joe Burrow's going to be back by Thanksgiving. So
He's not going to be back until the playoffs, I think.
by then, the Bengals might not be in the
So
postseason.
so he won't be back. I won't be back.
Okay.
I think
Um
he's from what I've read, he's basically going to be back probably week 15-ish. So he'd miss that sort of period. But we'll see. Depends how well his recovery goes. But yeah, I think it's a must win for both games this week for both of those teams, and that's where I think it could be a very good game because both teams will need to win.
yeah. As far as the rest of the week goes, um, I'm not seeing anything that it's particularly exciting. So I kind of want a way to put a little bit more excitement into the week. Now, if Carl could hit me up with a double bomber,
I can hit you up with the double bomber.
make my week a
So,
bit more exciting.
yes. So last week we had a bit of a scare. The small fold didn't do well at all, and that the big one, only one player let you down last week, and that was Vidal of the Chargers. Everybody else, Swift, Taylor, Tyler Warren, Jacobs, Pickens, Bijan Robinson, and St. Brown all got touchdowns. So one let you down for £718. That would have been absolutely fantastic if that was to happen. But we'll go again. Now, your sevenfold. Remember, you've got £10, split it into a fiver, £5 each for the smaller bomber and the bigger bomber. Here's the smaller bomber. Your 7 players to get touchdowns at any time are as follows. James Cook against the Panthers. DeAndre Swift against that horrendous Ravens defense. Bijan Robinson against that horrendous Miami defense. Cam Scatterboo against the Eagles. Run CMC going up against Houston. That's a bit of an iffy one because Houston's defense is actually pretty decent. And Emeka Egbuka for the Bucks. Obviously, no Mike Evans. He's going to be the number 1 target. That'll be the next one. And I thrown a wild card in there. He has scored a touchdown in his last 2 games. It's a bit of a risk because he's playing against a very, very good defense in the Cleveland Browns. But stick Kayshon Boutte in your sevenfold. So, because we all have a bit of the Boutte, don't we? So for £5, you get 738 back. And then the big one, the big bomber. George Pickens, Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren, Josh Jacobs, DK Metcalf, Rashid Rice, Derrick Henry, Chris Olave, and Javonte Williams. That's your big ninefold, the big bomber. That £5 on will give you back a whopping 2,444. So, and obviously we've got no London game, no international game. So guess what? None of that risky picking a player to get a touchdown game that buggers up your acca. So that's my small bomber, and that's my big bomber. That is your double bomber for week number 8. Back to you, Fletch.
Lovely. I like it. We all do love a bit of beauty. And then we have a big bomber. So we have the bunder and the bomber all in one go. And I love it. And that's a reference for the youth of the audience because I am the youthful one out of all three of us. And I speak to the youth through and I understand what they're saying. So we've got the bunder and the bomber. Now it's really fun because I said we've got 0 and 7 versus 3 and 4. We've got 5 and 2 versus 1 and 6. We have a 6 and 1 versus 1 and 6. Like it's not an exciting slate. 5 and 2 versus 2 and 5. Like, this week doesn't scream exciting games. So being able to put a couple of quid on, have a little bit of a flutter is just going to add a little bit of something else and something else that will help me out a little bit just to have a bit more of an enjoyable experience out of this. And Sam, I'm pretty sure you more than anyone understands this one is a bit of fantasy football. Like it gets me.
Big fan of fantasy football.
Big fan of
Big.
fantasy football. And I like doing them both. I like playing them both, and then sometimes I sit there and think, but what if I could do both of them at the same time? And then it hits me. I check Fantasy Game Day app on my mobile telephone and realize I can do both of them because Fantasy Game Day are the first and only NFL daily fantasy app made by UK fans for UK fans. You can set a lineup to a budget, pay a couple of quid, pay a couple of quid, get into a game, set a lineup to a budget, compete against other UK fans, UK creators such as myself, and hopefully some of my co-hosts. If you would like to have a go at this very thing, you can do that. If you haven't already, go to your app store, download the Fantasy Game Day app. Be careful, make sure it's definitely Fantasy Game Day. One of those words, just searching one of those words, you'll get a very different application on your mobile telephone. And when you sign up to that app, use promo code at the bottom, HRDLE. That is HRDLE. Hurdle without the U.
There's no hurdle the line without you.
And when you do so, once you deposit and play for the first time, you will get free plays worth up to £7.50 because they're just really nice like that. And they'll give you something free when you tell them we sent you because they are really nice. And I hope to see some of you on the leaderboard at the weekend. If you want to talk to us about Fantasy Game Day, your lineup, who you're putting in, what you're putting in, then you can do so on our free Discord server. There is a channel just for it. What you can also do in that is tell us what you think of Sam's picks for Fantasy Game Day this week and tell us how great they are because they're normally always great, aren't they, Sam?
Most of the time, yeah, I think most of the time they at least get points. This week's a bit difficult because I think because we have so many teams out, or so many teams not playing this week, the prices are a bit odd because it seems like they've upped the prices of a lot of the players. And as you know, I do like to try and bring in some more deeper picks. But this week I'm going to have to go slightly different because it's a lot harder. As mentioned, there are some that I probably would go with. Someone that Carl have already mentioned in his picks for the bets. DeAndre Swift going up against that horrendous Baltimore defense. He's valued at 6,000, and I mean, compared to the price of some of the big names, you know, like your Jonathan Taylors, your Christian McCaffreys, and Bijan Robinsons, they're all 9,000 plus. Whereas you want in a cheaper option, DeAndre Swift is only 6,000. He has just returned to practice, so it looks like he is going to be available for that game. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does get quite at least a touchdown, if not maybe two. The other one that I was looking at, obviously we've already mentioned him on the pod, And this is mainly just someone who is again going up against a very, very, very bad defense, and that's Breece Hall, sorry. Um, he's only valued at 5,600, and I know that that Jets team is utterly dreadful. But also the Cincinnati Bengals defense is utterly dreadful. So I would be potentially popping him in again. Only 5,600, definitely on the cheaper side. And then finally, and again, I don't want to go into too much detail about this one because we've already mentioned him in Carl's picks, but mainly because of the fact that he is good value at wide receiver compared to a lot of the others, and that's Booty. Again, he's only 4,200. For his price range, his fantasy points per game is at 11.37, which compared to the players around him is at least 2 points higher than any other player. So for me, I'd be looking at him. The other option is maybe someone like Marvin Mims, who's 4,000 value. Again, going up against that Dallas secondary, which isn't particularly great. It's ranked 32nd on this app. And again, with them wanting to potentially mark out Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims becomes a very good deep ball threat and secondary option. So those are my other two picks in terms of wide receivers. A bit of Booty and a bit of Mims.
Love it. Love it. Thank you very, very much, Sam. As we look to wrap this episode up, conscious of time, we will get onto a topic. We've got a topic to discuss now next week instead. But I will ask a basic version of this question before we go. Carl asked last week for us to ask, to say, who's going to take control of the AFC? Because it seemed like the AFC was up for grabs. I'm going to ask this question for both conferences. The Bucks have lost, meaning that the best record you can find in the National Football League is one team on 6-1, which is the Indianapolis Colts, led by Daniel Jones. I wanted to see your faces as that sunk in for 1 second for you. That the Indianapolis Colts, Daniel Jones, have the best record in the entire NFL.
It's like the
It just said
it's like the
everything
elephant on top
about
of
the
the tree.
AFC, doesn't it?
Uh,
It
It's like
sums up the state of the
it's like the
AFC.
elephant on top. It's like the meme of the elephant on top of the tree. You don't know how long he's going to stay there for.
Yeah. But with the Bucks losing, it opens up the NFC, I think, a lot more. Not having a front runner like that. If you were to close the playoffs today, Green Bay would be the top of the NFC with 4-1-1. Then you have the next 6 teams are all 5-2. That'd be the Niners, the Eagles, the Bucks, the Lions, the Seahawks, and the Rams. Whereas on
How we would be the seventh the seventh team in that whole list is just baffling.
because in the conference,
Yeah, because we're
Go
we're
on, Tim.
third in the conferences. Yeah, it's because we lost to the Niners, and the Seahawks have beaten the Cardinals and lost to the Niners. I think it was.
Your 5 wins are against the Texans, the Titans, the Colts, the Ravens, and the Jags, all AFC teams. Your
Yeah,
two
but I'm saying
losses,
we've lost. We lost to the
Eagles and
49ers.
Niners.
Yeah. Whereas the Seahawks have beaten the Cardinals and have also lost to the
Yeah.
49ers.
It's basically just coming off on in conference, you haven't beaten an NFC team yet,
Yeah.
whereas everyone else in that list has, which is just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately.
Well,
Um,
the 49ers are unbeaten in the NFC West.
they are. And which is why they take top place in the NFC
Yeah.
West.
And then the Seahawks are 2-1, I think, aren't they?
Yeah. Whereas the AFC, you've got the Colts who are clear favourite, well, clear top at 6-1. Two teams are 5-2. Two teams are 4-2. One team, then you've got three teams at 4-3. One of them doesn't make it. That's because the Jags get in the seventh place, and the Chiefs just miss out because the Jags beat the Chiefs, so they win the head to head. It's a little bit chaotic. Who is the AFC the Colts to lose? And I will throw this in there. I've been critical of the Chiefs. They've looked damn good these last few weeks. And especially offensively, they look like they're really, really, really improving. I don't think it's the Colts to lose. The Colts will lose a game or two. The Chiefs are looking strong. But the NFC, wide open, who takes it?
I don't think it'll be an NFC West team because I think they'll beat each other up.
It's when earlier in the group chat that we're in, Sam was on about the SEC. But it's a grueling competition. Being
Yeah.
in the NFC West holds you back because you've got to play sit. No, you've got the Cardinals. So
You've got to play
tough,
four difficult games. Yeah.
4 difficult games a year. Road and home, it doesn't matter. They're still tough.
And that's why, and to be fair, I think it's the same for the NFC North. It's the same issue. And that being said, is the reason why I would still, even though the Bucs lost, I would still say them and the Eagles are the two teams that will win the conference, or will lead the conference. Not necessarily win it, but will be the number one, just purely based upon the fact that I think the Eagles are benefiting from their division being a little bit all over the place and a bit uncertain. And the Buccaneers the same. I think they're in a good position because their conference is average at best.
Yeah.
So for me, it's either the Eagles or the Buccaneers. The only way I can see another team out of the NFC North or the NFC West winning it is if they go and win all of their games in their conference somehow. And I think if any team's going to potentially do it, and I hate to say this, it would be the Niners purely because of the fact that they have already got 3 games under their belt. All they have to do is beat the Cardinals, and they've got 4. And that would probably win them the division.
Yeah.
And especially is the fact that they have such an easy schedule outside of those games. They could potentially do it, and especially with getting pieces back, they could do it. But
yeah,
I'd like to think we and the Seahawks would ruin that pie.
I'd like to think so. With all due respect to Gary, I would like to think so. Actually, to be fair, is the Knowles are so bad at the moment. I don't necessarily I definitely don't want them to go well on and win get to the Super Bowl because same conference. But I feel like Gary needs a little something to cheer for in football right now. Especially Liverpool lost to United at home the other day, so we need to have them to have something.
The only thing I would say about the NFC West is I think that the teams that are in the NFC West positions for the playoffs now will be the teams that will probably be in the playoffs, in my opinion.
I don't think there'll be much change. I don't think there'll be much change.
No. Whereas I think the AFC, I still think that a lot can change in those teams.
Yeah.
Actually, in there looking at it, I don't think there is. I think the Chiefs will probably be a team that will jump in. And I'd probably say the Chargers will probably be the ones the Jags will be the ones that lose out. The Bengals could potentially be in with a shout, but I think the rest it's not even worth considering, to be honest. I genuinely think that the Colts might take the AFC, and that's not because they are necessarily the best team in the AFC. I just think they have the easiest run of fixtures.
Yeah.
It's the easiest schedule, and I think with how bad their conference is, they'll benefit from that as well.
Okay. Right, guys. Conscious of time. It's late. We have things to do. I want to thank you very, very, very much for spending this Thursday evening with me. And before we do go, if you are still with us, I'm going to recommend that you follow the AAW Network on socials. You follow Heard of the Line on socials. You follow everything the AAW Network is doing because we've got a really fun week. We have multiple episodes a week of Heard of the Line. We have College Football UK. We have multiple episodes a week of Patriots Touchback, where you will see this week a familiar face in Ollie, as well as the familiar faces of Carl and Nick. And we have an extra special episode of College Football UK dropping at the same day this episode drops with the Union Jack Classic, guys. Very exciting. And hopefully, finally, after a while, an episode of the Fantasy Den will come out this week as well. I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
Well,
But there's so much happening on the AEW network this week, and we would love to have you as part of it, with us, along for the journey. Again, follow all the socials. All the links are in the description of this
join
episode.
the Discord. Join
And
the
join us
Discord.
in the Discord to
Join Discord. It's fun. It's all fun. It's all
It's
fun and games on a Saturday
all
night.
fun. Loads to do, loads to talk about. And we will see you on Monday. No, we'll see you on Tuesday for the review show for this week.